What's up YouTube? Ryan, aka the Lucky Schmuck, back again with another video for you, and this time I'm taking you guys on a tour of all my fish tanks, including the 16 in the rack system behind me. Make sure you stay tuned to the end, and I'm going to show you guys a special breeding project I have. Let's do it. Here we are at the first tank. This is the 29-gallon planted tank in my living room. And as you can see, there is a lot of baby Plecos. There's also some cherry shrimp, some blue mystery snails that hatched in here. And you see a super red Pleco there. There's another male super red Pleco. I'm not sure if that is a male or female yet. There is the male. He likes to use this piece of wood almost as his cave. There's some Java fern, some Anubias. The shrimp do a really good job of keeping this wood like immaculate. There's always some shrimp chilling on this wood, and they seem to keep it super clean. The Anubias is really growing fast. The moss is taking off. Probably should scape this tank a little more, but I'm getting ready to add some fish. So once I do that, I'll probably really give this tank a good scape. But all these Java ferns on this wood are really starting to take off. There's a bunch of little baby ones. That one kind of came off the wood a little bit, but little baby ones that I didn't even think were going to grow that have grown really well. And these snails are growing super quick. The Plecos, this is actually the second batch of Plecos. If you've been following me for a little bit, you'll notice that, or you'll remember that we had one batch. This is actually a second batch. And the shrimp, I probably put no more than 6 or 7 shrimp in here a few months ago, and they've already had a few rounds of babies for sure. But this tank is doing great. Like I said, the plants are doing amazing in here, even though there's just some sand on the bottom. And I'm going to be adding some mid swimmers here soon. So definitely stay tuned for that. But let's check out the cichlid tank over in my living room. This is my 55-gallon African cichlid tank that currently houses a bunch of Mbuna, as well as 6 of the Synodontrus petricola, which are absolutely one of my favorite fish. All the cichlids are doing really well. There is some cobalt blue. There are some orange, red zebra, which are the orange ones, and then yellow labs. The petricola actually got from a local breeder down in Sarasota, Florida, Bio Aquatics. Actually just picked up a bunch of other fish and plants and shrimp from him to stock some of the rack system outside. So definitely stay tuned for that, because I'm going to be adding a bunch more fish. But this tank is awesome. One of the only tanks I have that doesn't have plants, because these guys are pretty much vegetarians. They would tear plants apart. But you can see some of the really deep blues as the dogs bark outside. And I haven't had many issues with aggression at all. Some of these orange guys are getting really big. I thought for sure it'd kind of be a bloodbath in here once they started hitting sexual maturity, but I've lucked out, and I have noticed a few cichlids holding, but I have not pulled any out, so I haven't had any bursts in here. Although that's something I may look to do in the future is, if I see a holding female, pull her out and try to raise up some of the fry. But let's take a look at what you guys really came here for, and that is the rack system outside with 16 tanks. Let's take a look at the top left tank to start. This is probably my oldest running tank, my first attempt at a dirted tank. And as you can see, the dwarf sage, which is this foreground plant, is just going crazy. There is a steel nebula guppy that I got from a local breeder in the Central Florida area named John. Shout out to John. Also got some really good cherry shrimp from him as well. There's some plants in here. That crypt is probably one of my favorite plants in my whole fish room. There is a bunch of cherry shrimp in here as well. There is a moss mat that didn't really take off. The guppy grass in here is going bonkers, as well as some of these stem plants. We have a lily that's kind of taken off. The tank, the water in this tank is full of tannins. That's why it's kind of this this brownish tint, but I like it that way, and the fish and plants seem to like it that way as well. The tank directly to the right of that tank is going to be my tank with the blue neocaridina. As you can see, they have bred from me. If you've been following me for a while, you do know that I had a ton of red ram's horn snails in here as well, which I started removing some of them and placed them in my 125. But I got these shrimp from Andres at Bioaquatics as well, and they are some stunning, good quality blue shrimp. The plants in here, you'll see some, there's a little bit of a melon sword there. There's a lily that actually kind of propagated myself, turned this into a few different ones. Some moss balls, some Java moss kind of in the back, and the main feature of this tank is just kind of the rock pile. And I actually got this scape idea from a friend of mine, Chris. So big shout out to Chris for not only this scape, but a lot of the plants and stuff in this fish room as well. You see a little baby super red pleco. I actually have had this guy for over a year. When I got him, the guy said it was a year old. And if you know Supernose, or if you know Bristlenose Plecos, this guy is stunted. But anyway, he's cool and he's perfect. Maybe he'll live out his life in this 10 gallon. If we move down, we have a tank here that has a bunch of my higher quality red cherry shrimp. Been putting some of the higher quality red cherries down here to try to line breed them. As you can see, they're not all perfect. I probably should take that one out, but these are just some of the reddest ones that I have. We got some crypts in here, some moss. They seem to really kind of keep that wood clean. And there's a few of these little baby plecos in here as well. I kind of scattered those throughout the tanks. If we move to the right, this is one of the tanks that hasn't really been set up yet. I have some guppies in here just to kind of help keep it cycled. It's a tank that's kind of in the middle of being scaped, so I'll kind of blow by that one real quickly. Here's another tank that doesn't have much in terms of inhabitants, but you can kind of see the scape coming together here. So I'll kind of leave it a secret what I have full plants for this tank, but for right now you'll just see some kind of guppies and some mystery snails. When the mystery snails bred, there was some blue and then some more kind of white ones. I don't know if you can see, but this is kind of a more of a whitish mystery snail. The light in this tank is kind of an odd one, so the color looks a little off, but nonetheless, on to the next tank. Now in this tank we have some crayfish. See if you pick a camera, will pick them up here. This is a native species actually down to Southeast United States where I am from, and let's see here, there we go. They're still not full grown, and there's some orange shrimp here. So in this tank we have some orange neocaridina as well as some of the Cajun dwarf Cajun crayfish. There's some more orange over here. The quality of these orange neos aren't the greatest, but these actually came from Chris. When I inherited a bunch of shrimp from Chris, he had some reds and some oranges, and I had to kind of sort them out. So I have done that to the best of my ability. The scape in this tank is kind of all over the place, but keep in mind, most of these tanks aren't fully scaped. Down at the bottom is an empty tank. I know what's going there, but it's a secret. There's a tank. At this bottom, we have some other shrimp. See if we can't get a better look here. We got some crypts and some rocks. The shrimp in here are like darker shrimp, the copper shrimp, and there's also some baby plecos in this tank as well. What I'm going to do, I don't feed these tanks every day, so I just fed them today for the first time in a while. Oh wow, it looks like these shrimp bred in here. Did not even know that. So it looks like there's some baby, I don't know if that pick up on the camera. Looks like bluish shrimp, but the shrimp in here are kind of a mix. So a little bit of a Skittles mix, perhaps, as L.R. Bretz would say. I can only hope to one day be on his level. But yeah, some just different colored neos in here. We'll kind of see what happens with this tank in the future. And if we bring it back up to the top of this right side of the rack, if you guys didn't know, the left side is all 10 gallons. There's 8 10-gallon tanks. The right side is 20 gallons. There's 8 20-gallon long tanks. And the whole system is run by a linear air piston pump, video coming out soon, as well as a irrigation, like an irrigation timer, just like you'd use in your garden. So that whole system is set up for the whole room. You'll see some PVC along the ceiling there. That goes the length of the entire garage. Let's jump into this first 20-gallon tank here. I did a video on this tank not too long ago. These are all my cherry shrimp, some sorted grades here. There's some decent ones there. There is a rabbit snail kind of hiding in the rock work. These guys are awesome. We have cichlids just chilling out. There's a male swordtail who jumped over from the tank and his wifey right there. There's an Amano shrimp. There's a few of those guys in here, but there's one on that filter. Let's see here. We got some Anubias on the Mount Shrimpus, as it's been coined. Wow, you can see all the shrimp in this moss up here on the top of Mount Shrimpus. Just kind of going away at it. But yeah, I like this tank a lot. It's just teeming with cherry shrimp. Next door to that tank, we have a tank that has some swordtail fry. Shortly after I didn't move him. Shortly after he jumped ship, she gave birth to a bunch of little fry here. We have some albino Bristlenose Plecos. There's a few and at least one breeding pair, because I'll throw some footage in here, but in this cave right now, there's the male coming to protect them. There's some wigglers. Actually, they're almost free swimming. So I'll throw some video here so you can see that, but we'll be raising up some of those albino Bristlenose Plecos here pretty soon. There's a blue-eyed one right there. So pretty. Now, if we move one down, this tank doesn't have too much in it, but we got some bacopa, some crypt. I put some java fern in the back there. There's some cholla wood. There's a few little Bristlenose Plecos kind of just chewing on the cholla wood, as they so much love to do. There's going to be some more neocaridina shrimp coming in here. I'll leave the color a secret for now, but this is going to be a shrimp tank. To the left, we have another tank that we have some Italian val, some crypts, some pearlweed. Over here, there's some blue mystery snails, as you can see. And there's also there's like 4 or 5 calico Bristlenose Plecos in here. I threw out some of these shrimp pellets to try to entice them, but it didn't do the trick. I'll see if I have some other footage of these guys. But for right now, there's some calico Bristlenose in here. And I will tell you one thing I'm going to be adding to this tank, because I want it to get really green. I'm going to be adding some cardinal tetras, kind of classic planted tank with some cardinal tetras. So those will be coming here soon. If we drop down one level, there's another tank here that I have set up with some Anubias, some driftwood, some lilies. Now this tank, once again, not fully stocked yet, kind of has some guppies. This one, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna go with yet, so drop a comment below. Let me know, what would you put in this tank? I kind of got this inspiration. I met a gentleman on Craigslist named Jose. He got inspiration from my tank, showed me a picture of it, then I got inspiration from that, so it was really cool. I'll throw a picture of his tank up if he lets me. I'll ask him, but I'll throw a picture of his tank so you can see where I was going for. I think his came out much cleaner than mine, but nonetheless, big shout out to Jose for the inspiration. This tank over here is a little different some of the rest. It's going to be another tank that's not going to have plants. I'm going to do Lake Tanganyika in here, so just a little heads up there. I'm going to do some Lake Tanganyikan cichlids, so that'll be a cool departure from the rest of the rack system. Get some cichlids in here, where the other tanks mostly going to have shrimp and other smaller nanofish. So some Lake Tanganyikan stuff will be nice. Down here, this is the tank that I probably had the least amount of guidance of where it's going. I kind of half planted it, half didn't. So yeah, like I said, I have 16 tanks. I'm one guy. I'm doing this fairly slowly, so I don't have any plans for that yet, really, but it's kind of half-scaped. This is my I guess you can call it a community tank for now. So I got some corydoras, both the albino, some peppered. There's a lone cherry barb, which I need to get some more of or rehome him. I kind of got him off Craigslist with a tank. So this is kind of my catch-all odds and ends / community tank. There's some blue mystery snails in there. There's 2 neons. Yeah, let's take a look at the 125. Now this tank, the main inhabitants here still are going to be those 2 Plecos. There's 2 sailfin Plecos in here. Frontosa, I'm still dead set on some Frontosa, I believe. I have yet to grab some, but that's definitely the plan for here coming up soon. As you can see, the red ram's horns have taken up residence in here like no other, which is fine. I'm going to breed these because I definitely want to get some puffers soon as well, and this will give me a great jump start on some puffer food. There's a few guppies in here, but nothing else too crazy. These are a few tanks I have for sale, like the little 10-gallon tanks I have for sale. This is a tank where I have some extra plants, and these are actually cherry shrimp that I pulled out of the 10-gallon, the top left 10-gallon, that I've been breeding there forever just to kind of see how many I had in there, and there's a lot more than I thought. I pulled a bunch out, and there's still plenty. This tank has got a bunch of the really shrimp. I mean, they're not the greatest really shrimp. Once again, I can't thank Chris enough. A lot of these plants and shrimp and stuff came from Chris when he got out of the hobby, and I'm kind of watching them for him. Obviously, I told him they'd be his once he gets back to the hobby, but for now, a lot of this stuff came for him, so big thank you to Chris. And these really shrimp, they had been mixed with the orange and the regular reds, so I think they made it bred a little bit and not got as pure, but there's still some decent looking shrimp, and I'm gonna try to, I guess, revive the line, you could say. So that's a work in progress. Kind of been sorting these out, and I'll try to line breed these, maybe find a home from them in the rack system. But I appreciate you guys watching. Hope you enjoyed the rack system. Hope there's a tank or two that maybe you can replicate in your house. I mean, these are all 10 and 20 gallon tanks. So any of the fish you see here, any of the scapes you see here is something that you should easily be able to do similarly yourself. You know, I got a lot of inspiration from watching others' tanks, and I hope maybe, you know, a few people get inspiration from watching mine. But that being said, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it so much. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.